Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Right. Good morning.
Hey, hello from Utah.
Yeah, hello from Arizona. I'm down in Mesa for the Gem Show, and going to go and look at crystals and stuff in just a little bit, and it'll be a fun day. If you all are interested, let me know, and I'll send you pictures of the stuff that I find.
There you go.
Whatever. But yeah, so we're not in the same place today.
Nope. And so I'm back in the studio, and so Casey, our guest, as we chatted with him backstage before the show started, he asked me, Michelle, before you even joined, he said, "So what do you do when she's away? Is it just like wings and football, or what do you?" I said, "Yeah, pretty much it." Yeah. So
he doesn't have to make the bed. That's the biggest thing. He doesn't have to make the bed when I'm going.
Yeah, and folks, stand by. We've got marketing expert and fractional CMO Casey Stanton standing by. A couple of quick updates. I want to make sure everybody knew we got Friday, Michelle. Our topic is going to be the cost of repos, like the high cost of repos, and there's some extra math. I think we all understand the basic math of your lost car and how that affects profit, and maybe a couple of car payments near term. But I've expanded it, and I think folks are going to want to see that math so they can better anticipate the longer term cost associated with losing those accounts. And then on Wednesday we have Kristen Acosta, who joined us weeks ago to talk about their very low charge-off rate. And keep in mind, this is a dealership that's been in business since the 90s, and their history that she sent us to analyze was almost 3,000 accounts, 3,000 sales. And so that's a pretty good study by itself. She's coming back to talk to us in depth about their collections approach and practices. So that'll be really important on Wednesday for people to tune in and listen to.
I know from the conversations that you've told me about from our V8 groups that when those kind of topics come up, it's like, how? I mean, she really does have, for the industry, great numbers.
Yeah, and I think the approach is the part. I mean, we can all understand, call the person, text the person. We can all understand the procedural things. It's going to be the philosophy and approach that we really need to spend more time with her on, because I think then people can apply that to what they do and have a chance to have more lasting success like they do. Oh, all good. We should, you want to introduce our guest?
Absolutely. All right, everybody. This is Casey. Casey has been someone that I've known for more than a decade.
I guess, it's been a while.
We worked with the same organization for a while, and then we both went on our own journeys of our careers and what our paths were, and Casey was more just like volunteering to help with high profile speakers and all of that, and so it was really fun to get to know him, and just really a delightful person. We're really glad that you're here today, Casey. And Casey just comes with a wealth of experience in marketing. And this is marketing experience outside of Buy Here, Pay Here, because I believe in this industry, we live in an echo chamber. Yeah. And so this is, and I don't know if y'all are familiar with what an echo chamber is, but it's the same thing being brought back to you from different corners without any influences outside of this box. And so Casey, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah.
So Michelle, you breezed over that phrase about buy here, pay here. So Casey, that's the terrible name that they call our industry of self-financing, like buy here, pay your payments here, buy here, pay here. That's mostly what our audience is, and that's who our listeners are. But yeah, happy to have you here to talk about marketing and how they can obviously apply it in their work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So at first, Michelle, I wanted to find out from Casey, like, tell us the backstory. Like, how did you get into marketing, and what attracted you to that particular area?
Yeah, great question. So 2008, I graduated from Michigan State University with an environmental policy degree. And when I say graduated, I mean I begged one professor to give me a D so that I could actually walk. I didn't know if I was going to walk. My parents already had like the hotel reservation come down, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to graduate, guys. Scary. So I graduated, but I graduated into the housing crisis of 2008. And I interviewed with one job with Canon, and I was going to go door to door and sell copy machines. And I thought it would be something great. I didn't get it ultimately. And I was kind of left like not knowing what to do. There just weren't jobs available. So I moved back in with my parents, and I was mowing lawns. And all I knew is that I had to figure something out. So I went to the library. I got Tony Robbins tapes, and I just got interested in like his material, but also like how he was saying it. Like there was something infectious about his tonality.
Delivery too. Yeah.
And it's like, what is that thing? And I got into it more and more, and I started to learn about marketing and copywriting, and just really fell in love with that. And I was driving downstate to see my girlfriend at the time, and a guy that I had known who had an information product business, who sold binders of information for a lot of money. You know, like he'd sell 1,000 pieces of paper for $1,000. He called me one day. He's like, "Hey, I've got a money-making opportunity for you. Do you want to run ads for me?" And I said yes. And it was my first real paid gig, fully remote. And I just ran his ads. So he trained me up. I studied under a copywriter that he had on staff. And I worked with him for a couple years, and then started adding on additional clients. And then I met a marketing agency owner at a bar on a date that was going south. I was with this woman, and it just like wasn't working out. So I went to the bar, and it was like a $5 pitcher of PBR. So I got that, and I bumped into, Mike, Michelle. I bumped into Mike at the 8 Ball in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and we just kind of hit it off. And I was going to Burning Man, and so was he, and so we connected there. And he made me an offer to come join his agency for a while. And I was there for a number of years. And while I was at the agency, I got to cut my teeth working inside of big companies like Tony Robbins. I actually worked inside of his CRM system called Salesforce. I helped rethink the marketing strategy of it. So how they were doing marketing, how the data was piping. Okay. And it was a lot of fun. So I did that. I helped with the Jordan Belfort's Wolf of Wall Street movie launch. And because he's a felon, he's not allowed to make money on the screenplay. You can't sell your story as a felon and make money. So he kind of hijacked his movie to sell his information course on how to be a salesperson. So I got to support that, which was a very interesting, he's an interesting character. And like, that was just like an interesting opportunity. And then working in all sorts of other projects, from small mom and pop businesses to, large, $50 million a year, like, online based businesses, and everywhere in between. So that's how I got into marketing initially.
Yeah. Just kind of, it found you almost. Like it's what I say about my own career sometimes.
Yeah.
I think you touched on a couple of things that I know give a hint to our listeners about your technical expertise. Before we get into that, I want to kind of back up to a broader thing and ask, just for those dealers who are listening, and when we describe you as a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, so you would be, in a C-suite, a larger company that had multiple executives, you would have marketing responsibility. And when I look at that, I first have to ask you, like, what is your definition of marketing? Besides just advertising, what does a chief marketing officer find themselves doing?
Yeah, good question. So I think one quick way to describe the chief marketing officer role is that it's the one throat that the CEO can choke for all things marketing.
Okay.
Like if you want one person who's responsible for all of marketing, it's the CMO. Okay. And the CMO rolls down that responsibility to individuals for individual parts, campaigns, build outs, ads, whatever. So what is the difference between marketing and sales? And I really like the quote. It's by kind of an unknown guy named John E. Kennedy. And he says that marketing is salesmanship multiplied.
Okay.
So if I went door to door and knocked on doors to sell a vacuum, that's sales.
Okay.
But if I took that same pitch and the same objections that I would get from all the doors that I would knock in a neighborhood, and I just wrote that in such a way that I could disarm all of those objections, and I put that in an ad in the newspaper, I'm now doing the sales work of a salesperson, but I'm multiplying my efforts.
And you have less time to connect with the consumer. If I'm standing at the door door to door, I have a little
Way
opportunity to chat, right? So you have limited, and it's even more limited today than it was 10 years ago, right?
Absolutely.
The scroll moves so fast, right? And so that's an interesting thing. So we talked about, Michelle, I asked him, I said, we're headed into Super Bowl weekend. And so obviously people will throw huge dollar amounts at the Super Bowl, which will be, some of the largest audiences on television, of the year. And I just wonder what you might tell our used car dealers, like when we watch those ads, like what lens do you see them through? What do you think a small used car dealer could learn from watching Sunday Super Bowl ads?
That some businesses are so profitable that they can waste ad money at the Super Bowl and feel cool on the golf course when they talk to their other CEO buddies.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is. Like, I think the only ad that like sticks in my mind is one that's worth emulating is when Kanye West did his shoe drop. It was a crappy ad with a cell phone, and he just like blew out. I forget the numbers, but he spent, let's say, $4 million to run the ad, and he made $20 million with the ad. And it was clear and direct. And it was just like, it was a pattern interrupt. It wasn't high production value. It wasn't with anyone famous besides himself, but he's also the business owner. So I'm never the kind of person who wants big glitz and glam. I just like want direct. Like if I said to you, Jim, like I pulled my back. Okay. I pulled my back a couple days ago. Sucks.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that happened. And if someone like had this big beautiful ad with Chuck Norris about, like, I don't need that. I need someone very specific talking to me that says, did you pull your back? Have you tried these different things and nothing's working?
Sure.
We're a like what do you call the person that would help you? Personal, like a chiropractor, sure. At our chiropractic clinic, we help people just like you. And here's what we've done. And come in now, and we'll do a free assessment for you. And I'll tell you, 75% of our patients that come in after one adjustment, like skip out of the office, like they feel so good, like that kind of direct. Okay, so valuable.
Pointed. Yeah.
A better example. I love this one. I have a financial analyst on my team. He is Indian, and he's a Jain. So
what's a Jain?
Jain is one of the major world religions.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And his wife now, when he was engaged, he's from North India. She's from South India. He's a Jain, and she's a Hindu.
Okay.
So culturally different. Food is different, right? Like everything about a North Indian and a South Indian is different. And then two different religions. And the joke with him was, what's the one thing he would buy? Like, what's the one thing he would drop everything and pay for? He would pay for the North Indian Jain's Guide to having a wedding and marrying a South Indian Hindu, where the families had a great time and it built lasting memories for everyone.
I gotcha. Yeah.
How much money would he spend for that thing?
Yeah.
Like all of his money he would spend on it.
It solves his
biggest pain point. His biggest pain point.
And it's not some funky name. I don't have to like twist it into some like perfect name thing. Although that's fun. If I'm like making a protein shake, I want to name it Muscle Milk.
Yeah.
What's a better name than Muscle Milk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is none. Like Quest Protein, that's not it. But Muscle Milk is like the best name ever. So if I can do that, I'll do it. But I'm fine with just naming things very on the nose. Yeah. Just exactly what it is.
Good. I like that too.
Yeah. So when I see ads, Jim, that say things like no money down, no background check, no credit check, like those kinds of things that are really clear to people, that just ticks off boxes of objections in their head and overcomes them kind of automatically.
Good.
And that's what you got to do with marketing. It's not glitz, it's not glam, it's not high production value. It's just direct, clear offers.
Yeah. So what about the storytelling emotion side of this? Again, recognizing that we have very limited time. If we're going to stop somebody in their scroll, then how do we do that? Because as I'm thinking about Super Bowl commercials, some of the ones that's last in my mind are some of the ones that were more emotional around Clydesdales at Budweiser. And like you say, they're just throwing huge. They got the huge production value and big budget, right? That's a different thing. But I'm still love that it sticks because of the emotional element. So is there something that you can help us know about how to add?
So with emotion, the thing that we want to do, the best way I've ever heard it described was sell the toes in the water, butt in the sand. Okay. Don't sell the packing your bags and flying.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
right? Sell the outcome.
Yeah.
So I remember there was a Dodge Caravan commercial, and it was like, get the Dodge Caravan now with a DVD player.
Yeah.
Dude, DVD player. What does that mean? It means nothing.
Yeah.
How about the later commercials that came out, which was get the Dodge Caravan, and like the kids are in the back with headphones on having a great time. That tells an emotional story of how the kids are entertained, and then the parents are like getting their moments of peace.
Right.
In an otherwise like loud day.
Sure.
Sell the benefit, don't sell the feature.
Yeah. Good. And it also elicits and the parents in that case are the buyer. They're the ones who are going to make the buying decision. So, you know, it kind of strikes a chord with them. So yeah, I love it. That's good stuff. So Michelle, you must have questions of Casey.
Well, I appreciated that with the, you know, the sell the benefit, because we sometimes get really caught up in our industry of selling, here's this car, it's got this many miles, this is the price. And
like there's a mileage probably barrier, right? Like there's a mental block. Like if it's under 100,000, if it's under 200,000, if it's under 300,000, it probably matters. But like I don't care if it's 87,000 versus 95,000. There's probably no difference in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we tend to get really caught up in all of the straight line things about what we have to offer. And, you know, Jim and I, we speak in terms of straight lines and squiggly lines. Okay. Straight lines are like this is your interest rate. This is, and the squiggly lines it's the intangibles. It's the way you feel. It's the experience. It's all of the things you can't put on a balance sheet. And so, you know, I love this when you say it's, you know, you sell the experience, and it's not the experience of buying the car. It's the experience of what the car can bring you.
That you ultimately sell that first, and then the thing that differentiates you is your process. I don't ever want to compete on price because I want to be the most expensive person.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. That's my preference. Yeah. I think a lot of people try to drive to the bottom, and then it's a tough place to live. I'd rather be at the top and then be able to do whatever I want. You know, when I go to the esthetician for Botox, I like to go to the one where I get the free San Pellegrino. You know. And like I could go to a cheaper one and not even get a cup of water. But like I like the San Pellegrino, you know, there's like something nice about that.
Sure.
It's a better experience. The people at the front desk are calmer. They're not aggressive to like extract money from me because it's like they have their profits baked in. They're not begging for the upsell.
Right. Good.
So I like premium prices, even in a market where generally prices need to be low. You know, finding a way to offer premium prices so that you can offer premium service.
Yeah.
I'll say I drive a Kia Telluride. We love it. It's a great car.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfect for like a family. We've got 2 kids. Sure. The dealership is the worst experience in the world.
Oh boy. See?
Because it's the dealership of Kia of old.
Okay.
And like the new rebadge, right? What was it, 2022 or 2021? They came out with the rebadge. And like I think the quality of Kias have gone up for certain models at least. But the dealership is awful. And it's just like, it's really hard to stay with it. We want to get a second car.
Yeah.
I want a Kia because I like the car. I think it's a good value. I think it's smart. It's got everything I need. But I don't want to go to the dealership ever again.
That's pretty bad when you'll go to some length to work around your local dealership, right?
Absolutely.
That's and those
I've wasted full days waiting for their technicians to not do stuff. You know, it's awful.
Yeah. So like the experience of buying when you were at the Kia dealership the first time around, what was it about that were like the major things that you were like, I just hated this?
I can almost tell the story without.
You know? I mean, I can tell you a couple things. So we live in Philly, but so we bought it during the prime of COVID, and you know how everyone was marking up cars, like $10,000 over sticker was what was happening in the city. So we found someone on the internet in the Pittsburgh area. It was cheaper, Michelle, for me to fly and buy the car in Pittsburgh and drive it home than it was for me to buy it locally, like by like $9,000.
Wow.
So ultimately, that's what I did. And I talked to the guy. We ordered it. It took a few months to get it in. He's like, we'll sell it to you at MSRP. And I go there, Michelle, and the guy, like, I'm done. Like, it's a done deal. We talked through all the stuff, you know, beforehand. But he's got to take me through the whole ringer of like waiting. I flew in, they picked me up. I drove for like 45 minutes to get to the place, you know, in their car, which was nice. I tipped the guy. No food around. It's like 11 o'clock. I think I'm in and out in an hour. It takes me 5 hours to buy the car because I got to wait for the finance guy, and they're just like playing the whole game, and they're eating donuts in my face. And, it's just like, it's awful. The guy's like going to order pizza. He doesn't order it. I have to order it. It's just like, it was awful. They didn't take care of me at all. The car had still some of the plastic, that was covering the metal parts that you take off when you like get the car and kind of get it prepped for the consumer. There's a stain on the roof when like the technician touched something. It's like that kind of stuff. It's like no pride in their work.
Yeah.
But I drove the car away and I got on the highway and I realized that the roof racks were reversed. So it was making like a thumping sound, Yeah. So I had to get out and get the Allen wrenches and like flip everything. It's like that kind of lack of detail.
Sure.
But still, I like the car. It's still a very good car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I went to a dealership again to look at the van as we think about upgrading to like the Carnival. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe I had a bad experience with one guy. And I go and we're like, hey, this is the Carnival. Like, we're very serious, like kind of like ready to put the money down to order the version that we want and the color that we want. My wife's in the car checking it out, and I go talk to the lady inside, and we're just chit-chatting. And this dude comes over and sits next to us, and he goes, Casey, what's it going to take for me to get you to put a deposit down right now? It's like, you blew it, dude. You blew everything. We were having this great conversation. I was ready to do it, and now you just like try to force me?
Yeah.
Like I'm making an honest decision, and I'm happy to work with you guys. And I just turned to the woman. I said, he blew the deal for you. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
It's just like the sense of like yucky pressure. I'm not being treated with respect.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we just haven't bought a car. And that was, I don't know, 18 months ago. We just haven't had the need for it. They blew the sale because of a lack of appreciating the customer.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing that we're obviously talking about a new car experience.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But one of the things that we found in this industry prior to COVID, that many of our customers had no choice. You could do that. You could, it was like they're here because they have no other options, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Since COVID, that what I've observed, and we talked to a couple of different dealers about that, is that the mentality of the customer has changed. They recognize that they have the right to be treated like a human. And they
Reasonable.
have the right to have a good experience
mm-hmm.
in the process, and that our customers, the dealers' customers, are shopping more than they ever did before. There's just this. It's just because they land on the lot does not mean you have a sale anymore.
Right.
And so one thing, and it's that COVID was just like such a pivotal time for people experiencing something that they had not experienced before in our the subprime, and gone are the days where it's that pressure. It's like it's about the experience
and the relationship.
Yeah.
So I can buy a second car and third car from them.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I went. I was at the mall a couple months ago, and Porsche has a spot at the mall.
Okay.
And like I'm like every other guy, right? I want a 911. And like, when would I buy a 911? I don't really need one, right? It's like pretty silly to get one because we've got kids that are in car seats and want to have another kid.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to play the game. Like, I actually want one. And I could see myself in the next, maybe, I don't know, 9-12 months buying one. So I went to the Porsche dealer and I was like, hey, like, tell me about them. I kind of know enough about it, but I'm not a big car nut. It's just like kind of a sweet looking car. Super nice guy. Answered every question I had. Very like gentle, like wasn't pushing anything.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, do you want me to put your name down so he can call you? If we get any models, and they go kind of quickly, just so you know. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Sure, go ahead. And I got a call back the next day, a guy like welcoming me and saying like, hey, I hear that you're down for this. You want it in green. I think a Porsche should be green because they look like frogs. So, and I don't need to buy a new one. I don't need a new car, right? I'm happy to take that depreciation on a used car. And just like walking through that process, I got a message from them recently, like last week, and the guy's like, hey, it's this guy from Conshohocken Porsche, and we just had a black 911 come in. I know it's not the color you're looking for, but at least you want to come in and give it a spin. Let me know. They're like, no pressure, all the help in the world for a very expensive car. But really, like, is it really that much more expensive?
Sure.
At the end of the day. So it's just a way better experience. And these guys don't feel a sense of pressure because they know that like they're offering something of value.
Yeah. That's good. And I think one thing that makes it a little different in our line of work with the used car dealers that we serve, for the most part, they're not negotiable on price. So that just means,
Porsche isn't negotiable. They'd laugh me out of there, Jim, right? If I was like, can you guys cut 10% off?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No.
Like, go across the street to Toyota.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they could. In this poor credit sector, if all three of us were buy here, pay here dealers, like I could run ads that say, I have cars and we provide, easy financing. Yep. But the two of you could both say the same thing in the same market. Like, I think what we're trying to help dealers understand is what's a separator? Like great. So what you touched on is the relationship piece, the service side of it, the experience side, right? We can definitely win on experience. And then back to the toes in the sand thing. And then I know, Michelle, we want to get to the technology side, but the toes in the sand thing, I got to tell Michelle, I used to work with a guy named Billy, and this is when I was a salesperson on a sales floor in Oklahoma City years ago. And he was the most talented salesperson I've ever worked with in any capacity.
Love those guys.
He was a young guy, just charming guy. And when he would do his test drives, we eventually learned that what he was doing is he would go out to an abandoned kind of strip mall that had a glass front, and he would pull out to change, the salesperson would drive out, then the customer would get in. And as they would get out, he would look at the glass and tell the customer, doesn't that car look amazing? Don't you look amazing in that car?
That's right. Right? That's good.
And so forget the horsepower, forget all the, the
you look good.
How does that feel? Right?
Yeah, right.
Does that feel amazing? And so talented. And so
that's great.
Yeah.
So just one other differentiator that I think is useful here. Claude Hopkins, incredible marketer from the early 1900s. He was asked to support a beer company that was relatively unknown called Schlitz Beer. And he was like, I don't really want to do it, and kind of begrudgingly took on the work from a buddy of his. And he had to find a way to advertise Schlitz. And he realized that Schlitz was no different than any other beer. Right?
Yeah.
Like, when you think of Schlitz, does it taste any different than Budweiser? It's like the same thing, right?
Yeah.
What did he do to make it, to go from obscurity to the number one? And it held number one for, I think, decades. Right? He just described the process.
Okay.
That's it. We take the water and we filter it this many times. And we take the barley from these farms and we do this thing with it. We make a mash like this. And this is the yeast that we use. And it's a 100-year-old yeast mother recipe that we've had from, we brought it from Germany or whatever the thing was. He just described it. Every other beer company was like, we do the same thing.
Yeah.
We even have the same yeast. We pull from the same river. We have the same farmers. Our beer's the same. Yeah. But because he described it in a way that was so clear, that was a differentiator.
Yeah.
So this belief that you have to have Nona's secret tomato sauce, like the secret ingredient in the tomato sauce. So you don't have to have that. Yeah. You just have to describe what you're doing in a way that's clear to the person.
Yeah.
So just describe the process by which you help someone get a car.
Sure.
And be really honest about it, and disqualify people that are a bad fit so they don't come knocking and waste your time.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of it.
Yeah.
Most people just try to sell too simple and just lay out the steps.
Yeah.
Step 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you guys just hold them to those steps. And it's that easy,
Yeah. And then if I can add that I do that with some love and respect, for the process.
And it's a family operation, and you'll talk to me or my wife or my sister-in-law.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we've been with some of our clients as we've walked them through branding and marketing. It's let them get to know you. I mean, get to know you and your story and why you're doing what you're doing and the people that you work with and all of that, because it really humanizes and makes you much more known, liked, and trusted in your community. Which
the line that I like on this, Michelle, is the more personal it is, the more universal it is.
Oh, good.
So when I said something about shopping for a van because I've got these kids and stuff, someone listening might be saying, well, I don't have kids, but my daughter's having kids. So, they're relating to the story through other people, but they're still relating in a deeper way than me just saying, I was looking at buying a car.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, Michelle, before we get into tech, I want to ask him a question that I didn't prepare you for this, but I know you'll know the answer. If you were to step into the CMO role with a larger buy here, pay here dealership that's got, pretty good volume, what would you be looking for in terms of a closing percentage of all leads coming in from all sources? We got Facebook leads coming in. This has been a topic on our podcast in the past. And so we see dealers kind of struggling with that, but just without any understanding of the segment, like what would your best guess?
If you had good quality marketing, and you were all of those kind of things, what would you consider that good?
So I would just differentiate real quick. So I've got leads.
Okay.
And leads are just mostly people, right? Sometimes they're robots, but like a lead is an email address or a phone number or something.
Yep.
And then I've got a marketing qualified lead.
Okay. Yep.
So I differentiate what I call an MQL, what's known as an MQL, as in like they have the money, they have the need, they're close enough to drive to the location. Like there's some kind of qualifier that says that they're a good fit.
Good.
If I got someone who wants to buy a car, but they're 500 miles away, are they legitimate or not? So you have your MQLs. And if you want to even take that one step further, you grade your MQLs. Okay. I've got bronze, silver, and gold. Okay. A gold MQL is I need a car this week, and I've got this amount to put down, and this is my credit score. Like you could define that maybe as a gold. So that's the first thing, is to know not just leads, how many leads am I getting, but how many MQLs and how many golds, bronzes, and silvers. And then the next step is I want to have a conversation with them, with a human, and that human then further qualifies them, and we call them a sales qualified lead. Okay. Sometimes people fill out a form and they lie, or they don't fill out the form correctly or whatever. Sure. So I want to just double check it with a person. And then the person, the salesperson is always better than the form, because they're just going to extract better information about need and, what would happen if your wife's car broke down and then you guys didn't have any car, and, like that kind of conversation. So that's an SQL. Okay. Of the people that are qualified to buy, the next number I want is offers made. Okay. So how many offers were even made? Because I don't sell things to people that I don't know if they can buy it or not. Okay. I'm not saying, hey, Jim, I got this thing for sale. Do you want it? I say, Jim, tell me about you. Tell me about what you need. What are you looking for? Why is that important? I understand you. And then I'll present an offer. Okay. I want 50% of offers to close. Okay. But I want to be stingy on offers. Okay. I'm not. Yeah. So let me say that a different way. That last part, not stingy. Like I don't want to offer to people that can't say yes. Okay. So like in my company, my salespeople, they report on offers made and closes. Okay. So if we had 8 offers made and 2 closes, man, that kind of sucks. But on Friday last week, we had 4 offers made, 3 closes, and 1 deposit. It's amazing, So that's what I'm looking for. And that's not how many calls they had, because they were on calls with people and they were like, this person's a joker. They don't have the money. They're not the right person. Okay. Let me lay out another thing for you. 10 to 20% of deals are laydowns. Okay. I like that language. They're laydowns. They're easy peasy. The person's like, money in hand, ready to go. You guys got the car. Can I have it, please? Okay. Right? That's a laydown. That was me with that Kia Carnival. I was a laydown, and they blew it. So of the remainder, we'd say like 35% will never close. No way, no how, never going to close. And then the other 35% or 40%, you got to work for. Okay. That's when you got to be the salesperson. That's when you got to be crafty and creative with financing options and helping them out, and maybe delaying them getting the car because you don't have the right one in, but you're going to go do some, in-network trading of the car to get the one in the right color for them, or whatever the thing is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right? So when you start thinking about that, I'm never going to hold my salespeople to a standard of closing people that aren't closable. And I need to respect that they're not going to juice those numbers and say, you just drove me a bunch of bad leads. Yeah. Yeah. You want to look at the aggregate of how your salespeople generally do. Yep. So if one person does poor than all the rest, it's probably a them problem and not a lead quality problem. Which follow up to that, Michelle.
We're going to have Casey come back and talk about tech, but I will ask one quick question before you go.
Yeah, no, of course. I think when I hear you talk about that, it begs the question about agencies, because what we hear is dealers saying, well, we paid an agency, but we got a lot of leads, but we only closed 2% of all leads, right? So they don't have nearly the qualification funnel or track that you described. Sure. But so they're generally looking at, all leads. And so when we see 1.5%, 2% closing, I feel like in our line of work that's low, because we're in a business where, the customer who shops us pretty well knows we're in the business of providing financing for folks with credit trouble. So, when they click that link, I would expect a higher closing rate than that. So I just wondered if is there...
It might be flighty though. I mean, subprime is subprime, like these people just like might not be able to show up to the appointment. There's a bunch of potential problems. Also, the way that the traffic's generated. So if we just talked about different traffic that we can get for ads, the number one best traffic for like pretty much every business is Google search. If I only had one place that I could advertise for the rest of my life, it's Google search. That's someone on google.com searching for 2023 Kia Telluride. Like, I want that search query. I want to show number one for that. If I pay for the ad for that, it's expensive, but the person has a lot of intent.
Right.
It's not like they're just cruising around on Facebook looking at reels from their ex-girlfriend. They're actually shopping for the car.
That is a very, very, very different thing than we're hearing within our industry. Is like you hear from a lot of the marketing. It's like Facebook is where it's at.
Facebook's great for scale. Facebook to me is like a number 2. I like Facebook because, like, think about Facebook though. You have no intent on Facebook. We can surmise intent based on things that you've done with like big tech, so we can know that like you're the kind of person who isn't shopping for a car.
Right.
Recently I was looking at, I don't even know. You know how your algorithm on Facebook changes, right? It changes because you looked at one thing. I looked at a bike for my son, and then all I started seeing was ads for all the different types of bikes. Facebook is just optimizing because they know I have an intent, and they're just saying, all right, well, we're going to give you every possible permutation of an ad that someone's running to see if one of them gets you to buy. Like they're just optimizing for the purchase. So I like Facebook absolutely as a number 2, but Google's number 1, Facebook is number 2. But know that the intent is lower, and therefore you need more leads to get the same amount of sales.
Gotcha.
Which is why you were saying, I know I'm going to pay a higher price for Google.
Sure. Yep.
But it's going to be a much more qualified, it's like someone who has real intent to buy a car.
Yeah. And they might have the money and they might not. That's a secondary kind of consideration.
And then we're in that adage, Michelle, where people talk about the shotgun approach versus a rifle approach. Like you're zeroing in on somebody who's got an active, current intent to purchase, right?
Exactly.
So, good.
So and when someone's doing a Google query, there's an awful lot involved in that. That's not about ads, but it's about making sure that you're positioned in a place where you come up quickly as a place to go to.
So it's like search engine optimization, which is the most important marketing campaign that sucks to run because it takes a year or two of effort to be in a great position. You can spend money, $1,000, $2,000 a month to get your SEO position up, but it might take you 12 or 24 months to get to the number 1 position.
Yeah. And Google, Michelle, I don't know if Google knows how to sell to me. Like my searches are things like, what's the lifespan of a cricket? I don't know if they know really how to, what you're going to sell me, right?
What, are you looking to buy a cricket?
I don't know.
Is it phone? Is it? Yes, exactly. So Casey, I feel like we're kind of out of time to go into tech, but there were some really fun things that we talked about when we kind of got together, and I had the opportunity to introduce Casey and Jim. And so I really want to have you back because.
Can I just share just like real quick a couple quick things in tech that I think are exciting?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I think AI augmentation of humans is important right now. AI is not replacing stuff, but if we think of it augmenting people, so if you have a salesperson who's good at sales, I don't know what it is, but like the best salespeople tend to like not be able to write their own name with a pencil. Like they're not very good at that.
I've seen that.
Right. So like using AI to write those follow-up emails, text messages, absolutely left and right, you should be doing that. Don't rely on people to do that. Bringing in a marketing technician who you pay $25 to $35 an hour to, who manages that kind of connective tissue between the salespeople and follow-up and all that, can keep the salespeople selling and then all the follow-up happening through marketing. The quote I love on that is, Frank Sinatra never moved his own pianos. So why would your best salesperson do follow-up? They can't spell, so like you're going to ask them to get on a cell phone and like type. It's like, no, have automation that handles that and have a marketing technician that's in-house or overseas. If you want to drop the cost even more, do that. I like ChatGPT just for a majority of stuff. ChatGPT just came out with 2 big things. Jan 31, 2025, so 5 days ago, they came out with ChatGPT Omni 3. It's their new reasoning model. Crazy. So that's interesting. They have different models, like statistical models and reasoning models. A statistical model says the next the next word I'm going to give you statistically makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Statistics are bad for math because it's like, what's the next number in the sequence? Well, statistically, my best guess is this. It's like, don't guess in math. I need you to be able to reason. So ChatGPT just came out with a reasoning model. So know that these different models exist, and you just click them from a dropdown. And if you want to say like, okay, what's our current sale rate of cars and what's our current profit and what happens if we add this and multiply this and get this many more salespeople and, you know, all these different things, you can start modeling that in ChatGPT Omni 3, but not in 4 Omni. Like they're different models and they're supposed to be doing different things. Also, like 2 weeks ago, which feels like old news, ChatGPT released Operator, which is only available on their $200 a month plan. But the idea is important. Operator is a computer use operator. So it as if you have a computer in your office that an AI operates, and they operate the keyboard and mouse. So you can have it do stuff like open up your CRM, click something, complete tasks, send emails, all that kind of stuff. And it thinks critically at each step along the way. So it's not a macro that you program, it's a AI that you prompt to do this stuff. Yeah. And my commitment is that by the end of this year, there's going to be AI agents in the businesses that are winning. These are like, instead of hiring people, I'm going to hire an AI agent, and that's going to be moving the mouse and typing on the keyboard for me.
Sure. And they won't call in sick.
They won't call it. They're going to work 24 hours a day. You can boot up 4 of them at the same time, Jim. It's going to be nuts. They're going to be like a little slow because they like have to stop and think and go and think, right? They're not going to be really polished.
Sure.
So you just boot up 10 of them.
Yeah.
And then you have one human that manages all 10 of them just to make sure that they're on track, or if the AI has questions. Listen to this. The AI could text you, Jim. It could send you a text message if it had access to a soft phone on the computer.
Right.
And say like, hey, I'm stuck here. What should I do?
Yeah.
And then you're like, do this thing. And then it goes and does it and gets back to work.
Yeah. Cool.
That's where we're going.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and I would love to, when we have you come back, let's dive into that and about, you know, how someone with possibly limited funds and maybe not being super techie, you know, what are the steps that can help them really leverage that? Because the thing that I get from what we talked about before and a little bit here is that you don't have to have an agency to do this. It doesn't. It's you just need to have
a curiosity, and you have to know what kind of problems can get solved. I know that I have a post hole digger, and it's really good at digging post holes, but it's really bad at shoveling the driveway.
Yeah.
Right? So you just got to know what these tools can do, and then you just start like thinking where can it be applied. But it's very cutting edge right now. Yeah.
Right. Well, and it is. AI is like it's you hear all the time. It's like if you're looking for something new to add to your tool belt for your resume or whatever, learn how to do this, and that can get you. There's an awful lot of opportunity around this because there's so many people that don't understand it, that just a basic understanding can just open up the whole world to you.
Well, and I agree with your your suggestion about that. The businesses that are going to be more successful are going to be those who are really tapping into efficiencies. They are really going to be, optimizing through this artificial intelligence. So it's exciting to see where it's going. And I
Google just announced 25,000 employees that they're doing an early buyout for.
Oh yeah.
Because they don't want to just can them overnight, but they're effectively canning 25,000 people. They're just doing it slowly so it doesn't make them look bad. It's a PR move more than anything. And their commitment is to move more towards AI for efficiency.
Right.
Sure. So we're approaching this thing. 1 person, 1 billion, 1P, 1B. One person is going to create a $1 billion a year company.
Yeah.
And they're going to do it with AI agents. That's coming. I won't be the guy that does it. Right. That's not my intellect, but someone's going to come up with it.
Sure.
And it's exciting. And we all need to be figuring out how to just not lose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have to be the 1P, 1B guy. I just got to be the guy that doesn't go out of business.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So all good stuff. Thanks for joining, Casey.
Thank you. We may, I'll get with you about the next time we can have you come, and I've got a couple of other ideas potentially of diving deeper into some of this potentially with our V8 groups. All right. I'm going to put you backstage if you want to hold on for just a minute so we can say a proper goodbye after we've closed out the podcast.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank you, guys. See ya.
Thanks. All right. Great. Good conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I think folks can tune in Wednesday to find out if it's the real Jim or is an artificial version of Jim, and I'm actually out playing golf. We're only Wednesday.
Right. Well, and I keep seeing like different technology is just growing leaps and bounds. And I know in the conversation we had before with Casey, he said what used to be an annual release is now happening monthly and sometimes weekly. And it's just like the playing field, the map is changing, and it's changing for the better every day. So, we just opportunities, more and more opportunities to learn and get better. Hey, everybody, thanks so much for joining.
Hey, Friday, don't forget, that's when we're going to talk about what repos are really costing us.
Yes, absolutely. All right, everybody, again, thanks so much for joining. We will be back on Friday. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we will see you on the other side. And I realized I didn't get our closing tile up, so I'm going to do that right now and get it on the stage. All right, everybody, have a great day.
Have a good one.